Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu salam ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa halim wa salim bikum. Anjarama to my full-bed community. Salamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Lil ikwani wati fi din. Salamu ala mani tabahuda lil ikwani wati fi Africa, Europa, Caribbean, wa Asia, wa kuli makan. Inna niyote subhanahu wa ta'ala. Amtanani wa shukri. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Okay, brothers and sisters, I'm going to do something a little different. This is something I've been thinking about for many years. I asked subhanahu wa ta'ala many times in my prayer about something about the African people, our ancestors, and something happened to them I wanted to know. And as I start to do more research into this field, I begin to start seeing a pattern of things. I want to discuss that. And our ancestors lived through a traumatic experience, which I had not covered this aspect of Kemt. Those who have followed me in the past, they know what I mean by Kemt. I'm not going to keep going over this. For who do not know, Kemt is the name and Meter for ancient Egypt. So I'm using the word Kemt. And by the 25th dynasty, my great ancestor Shabaka was the last of the great Pharaoh or pharaohs. By the 26th, our kingdoms start going down. 27th, the Persians took over. From that point, there was no more Black African rule in Kemt. It was finished. For those approximately to 1,000 years, the Kemtiyu, those again who've been following me know that means Black people in Meter. It's talking about the ancient Egyptians. They call themselves Kemtiyu. Kemti means one person. Kemtiyu means the whole race of people, many Black people. And they went through experience that drove them out. The analogy is this. If you're sitting in Black enclaves like Compton, California, where I came from, or some parts of Dallas or some Jackson, Mississippi, suddenly invaders come to drive you out of Jackson, Mississippi, or drive you out of Compton, California, and sent you into other areas. This is what has happened. That experience really hurt them a lot. And we have documents to show. And then by the 3rd AD, about nearly 800 years after this great exodus, as our people, our ancestors, Fulani, Bambara, Wolof, Akan, Ewe, Ga, you name it, Tiv, Igbo, Yoruba, all these ethnic groups we know today in West Africa, they begin to go out from Messer. Habasha, Arabic. I'll get into this in a minute about Habasha, Ethiopia, Eritrea, all that area that you know today, Sudan, so forth and so on. Central America, Central Africa, I'll get into all of this. It drove them out into these regions. They began to migrate to these regions. But brothers and sisters, something happened to them. This was a traumatic experience. And let me preface this by saying something. Any of us who are African, we can fault our ancestors for perhaps not knowing falling into traps of religious traps, meaning they forgot their religion. We have that today as Muslims. We have Muslims who don't practice. They had the same problem then. We can fault them on this, but they had ignorance because they did not know. They had certain aspects of religion, but after the invaders came, things got muddy. But we're still at fault because we had a guide. The old kingdom from the 1st dynasty to the 6th dynasty was involved in Tawheed, which we call Ka. See, and so we can't fault him in some ways. It's just like today, we have a lot. We have some excuses to a degree, but we don't have any excuses. Just because the two Bob powers are governing us and running us and enslaving us to a degree, that doesn't mean that you stop worshiping Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. You still have to worship him, even if they stop you from going to the masjid or stop you from this and that. You still must practice your faith. But these groups had a traumatic experience, brothers and sisters. And I said about the prefacing of this. To all of you Muslims, Hebrew, and Christians, and Muslims, Christians, and Jews on this continent, we have no right to disrespect. I've seen this, heard this. We have no right to disrespect those who had traumatic experiences and drew them in caves or in papyrus reeds, paper, or they put them in hieroglyphics, or they put them in monoliths. I'll get into that. We have no right to sit there and tell in modern times, oh, they're liars. It didn't happen. They were not there. I mean, we were not there. They were. They recorded it as is, as they saw through these experiences. We have no right to sit back in this day and age and say that they are liars. We have no right to do that. The same is said about Herodias. The Tubab historians, modernists today, downgrade Herodias, even call him a traitor because he reported what was actually he saw, and he wrote what he saw. And he described the people of Kemt and Cush, all that. He described them. And they dismiss him. Now we have black folk, okay, who a lot outside our continent and other places, just because they don't agree with something, they call it a lie. They uncover something, they said, no, it can't happen. This didn't happen. Well, how can I wasn't there 4,000 years ago. I wasn't coming through the Sahara when it was lush and opening up, and they start to come into West Africa, and my Fulani ancestors, and I have Mandinka and Mende also, they come across, I wasn't there. If they wrote something because they saw something and something happened to them, how can I turn back around and call my Mandinka or Mende or Fulani ancestors liars? Cannot. It's wrong, brothers and sisters. And we should call it out for what it is. I don't care who is talking, if it's a Tubab or a black Tubab or African American or Caribbean American or even a black African on the continent, we must call them out because they weren't there. And if they said they saw something 5,000 years ago, we have to take them for face value. We cannot call them a liar because we have no evidence to disprove them. So with that said, now we'll get into the crux of this. Brothers and sisters, all of the ethnic groups running from West Africa, North Africa, the Tuareg, our brothers, the Sere, the Bambara, the Sonike, Wolof, Jolof, Mende, Mendinka, Fulani, all had experiences. Something came and visited them. Now we see it everywhere. This trend went all the way now to South Africa. We have African scholars now deciphering languages because it's their languages in different areas. We find the same formula. Every one of them points to Sirius. That's right, brothers and sisters. Each one claimed they were visited. One group in particular talks about warriors, and they even called from Cyrus. Now, I know I have people say that's a lie, it didn't happen, all that. I don't care. I denounce those people because if they wrote this 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago, whatever situation is, because something happened to them. Why would they have to lie? They didn't live in modern times. Why would they have to lie? Something happened. Something happened to them. They saw something and they drew pictures of what they saw. Even in the hieroglyphics in Kemt, they saw something. They wrote it. They showed Kemtiyu people, black people. That means black people again. Means black people and Mediterranean. They saw people going, black folk going into spaceships, going into space, and they saw those coming from space onto the land. We have the Olmecs in Mexico. Remember them? They look black folk with kinky hair, big noses, and thick lips. They're Africans, and many Indians said Africans came to visit them, and they began to worship them. They claimed they were visited. We have a whole host of this stuff that's happened. See, and it was so profound. But here's the error, brothers and sisters, on the continent. I'm not talking about what happened in Mexico, even in Australia, in the South Pacific. I'm not going to talk about those people. I'm going to talk about the continent. It was so dramatic, profound for them. They begin to worship the creations of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. That's the traumatic experience that I was talking about. They begin to act like them. They start to worship them. They begin to take on different things, and they forgot about Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. This is what I'm talking about. Now, let's get into that. Okay, excuse me. That's not what we want to. Now, no, brothers and sisters. Oh boy, where are we at here now? Where's my stuff at? Okay. I want to start something. I'm going to show this first before I get into something. This is a genotype, okay, of what happened when there was an exodus. I told you before, my mother's DNA, it was LO series. The LO series left out of Messer and traveled down south, which here, this is a 23andMe. They don't really get into that, but they show the EM series going all the way into the subcontinent, India, because we know we got native black folk there. Okay, we know that. Okay, no doubt about that. We have that. Before we get more into this, let me see who we got here. How you doing, my dear sister? Somalians don't have kinky hair. You know what, Melissa, if you're Somali, I don't know what you're talking about, because you do. There are some that do have that, and flat noses. There's some. There's not one type, because this, and you don't even spell it right. And also, my dear sister, please, I gave something here. This is, please give your greetings to everybody. It's disrespectful. You come on the station, no problem. You have something different that you want to, no problem with that. But you greet everybody first, and then you back up your play. And I ask you this, Melissa, thank you for coming, my dear sister. Are there similarities between the people from Somalia and the Fulani people? I want to hear what you have to say about that. They have never been white. Melissa, they have never been white. They were ancient people who mixed with the Greeks. And so this is a simple fact. And they mixed with the Greeks, and we had names for them. They became people also by you know what? Now this. Wait a minute. Okay. No. Dear sister, you going crazy. You know what? Now you're putting all kind of stuff here. No. If you're not that, let me ask you something. In Somalia, Melissa, do you see people like me? Or are you saying they're different from me? Or what are the people from Somalia? Are they white? If this is the case, when Somali people went into Korea, why did they call them the N-word? Huh? And they call them black. If they're not black, when they went to Indonesia to escape the war in Somalia, what did the Indonesians call them? White? No, they call them black folk. And not all of them have straight hair and straight noses, just like the Fulani people, which are my people. Some are much darker than others. Others are lighter complected because of all of the mixing and everything, and because of genetic drift, there's differences. So, and anyway, this is not a class. Uh, what's all of this stuff you writing here? No, 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 no. You out of here. You out of here. No, you out of here. You out of here. I don't have time for your crap. I don't have time for that. Okay. Sorry, my dear brothers and sisters. That was a provocateur. Flat nose is not the same as a wide nose. And thank you, my dear brother. But please give your greetings here to everybody that shows up in it. To me, I'm your elder. Please give me that greeting. The flat nose actually meant burnt, blunt, and not. Yes, we're looking at that. But again, this is not the issue today to talk, because I talked about this already in a prior course about the Kemtiyu people and what happened to them. Talking about the Fulani and all the Khan. I talked about them. We talked about already many times about Herodias, what he said about the people. So I gave that class already. And the issue here is not about the Somali people, if they're white or black. Anyone said this, even I never heard not one Somali person, and I know quite a few in California. I never heard one of them tell me they were white. Now, they might be discriminatory against African Americans and others because they feel they're superior, yes, but they would never say they were white. And if this is the case, as I said before, if the Somali people were considered white, then why, when they went to Korea, they called them the N-word, huh? And you look on YouTube and see what the Somali people, who all the discrimination and what they're calling them there. They're not calling them white. See, so we need to get that straight. Right away. This person's a provocateur. All the stuff they start writing here, it was ridiculous. I ran that person. It's a provocateur. But anyway, we got into this about the map, and this is showing that the people left and they begin to develop their genotypes and so forth and so on. This is showing an exit. I'm going to get into another series and another episode talking about more evidence about this. Okay. How you doing, my dear brother? Thank you very much, my dear brother, for showing up today. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And a good day, everyone. Yeah, thank you, my dear brother, for showing up today. I appreciate that. Okay, we have that, so we're caught up. And so now, our brothers and sisters, we're into this here where we're talking about the genotypes, and then we got the genotype here as well. And we showed that the Africans, and you've seen this many times, we showed that the Kemtiyu people, who were the black people, who that's what they call, left, and they went into three regions. And you heard me set you up for this. We call it Ta Meri, which is Kemt, means Egypt. Then Ta Seti, today means Sudan, Habasha, Eritrea, Somaliland, and so forth and so on, and Djibouti, and all that. Okay, that's that. And then we have, remember, Ta Neher, which is the big land, which further south of Sudan, where the Nile actually is created from many different rivers. So they begin to go back into that when this exodus occurred. See, but things happen, brothers and sisters. This is what I'm saying. When our people were visited, they began to put monoliths. This is Newsweek. Suddenly these things are popping up all over the world. Some are false. Others they can't explain how it was put, who put it. People, and a city will be standing there, people going back and forth. An hour later, this thing appears. It was no truck that put it there. It just appears. And you guys can do your research on these monoliths appearing everywhere in the world. But we had that already. The African map showing the migration, all left going every which way from Kemt. They left Kemp, they became the Somali people today. They became the Eritrea. They became the Ethiopians. They became the people from Djibouti. They became the Kenyans. They became the Congolese people, Central African Republic. They became the people from Cameroon. They became all the people from West Africa, and those all the way to the corridor of Senegal and Mali and so forth. They became also the Tuareg individuals that we know today too, and that's another story in itself. In what you know, as you heard me say, they started a civilization in modern day Algeria after they left Kemt. So we have this great exodus, and they got away again from the powers to be. The powers to be with the Romans and Greeks, Persians, and so forth. They didn't want to mix with them. They didn't want to be around them, so they left. This caused the exodus. But when they left, brothers and sisters, they were visited. This is what they were saying. And we have all of this. There's books out now talking about this, of our African scholars are going to the learned people and the languages, and they're starting to see these things and how each one, I don't care, is Habasha. And excuse me, Habasha, I'll get to that word in a minute. Ethiopia, the Beta Israel, or any of this, they all had something to do with the Sirius solar system. All brothers and sisters, all the way down to South Africa. This is a true fact. This happened to them. They begin to chart these things. They begin to worship the creatures that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala created and he sent to them. And this is a problem, as we know today. But for any of us as Africans to sit and say that they are liars is wrong. Because we were not there. We were not there 3,000 years ago when they said they were visited. And they drew them. They drew them on stones. They drew them in caves. They showed things happen. Is it true or not? We cannot say. Allah alam, as we say in Arabic. Subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, because we don't know. This is our ancestors, what they wrote. And this is the traumatic experience that happened to them, to the point to where the angels gave our ancestors, the Tuareg, those in North Africa, and the Sahel, they gave a peripheral of knowledge about the interstellar space. And I'm telling you again, I say this again, brothers and sisters, hear me good. Nobody has the power of the eye. If you look at Sirius has a bright star. It shows up in the northern tier and in certain parts, I think September and so forth, in the East African region, you can see the real bright star. It shows up. But the Sirius B, which is called Potolo, you cannot see with the naked eye. Don't let you hear somebody talk about the Sirius or something, and you hear people saying that there's somehow or another that our people, the Fulani or the Dogon or whomever, Wolof, looked into the space and they can chart it out. It didn't happen like that, brothers and sisters. It didn't. Even in Egypt, it did not happen. Something happened. Subhanahu wa ta'ala sent them angels and he gave them peripheral of knowledge about the inner space, because you cannot look up with the naked eye and see, because they charted out in Kemp, they charted out Orion, and they charted out Sirius. How did they get that? Someone had to give them the information. Potolo, which is the small star in who've been following us about the Sirius star system, is very small. We can't see with the naked eye. So none of us can chart that out by just looking. We can see the big star, yes, which is called Sigitolo. Yes, we can see that. So we have to get that out, because it's not right for any of us to criticize that. Now, I know what people will say. I'll get to you guys in a minute, brothers. Hold up for a second. Let me say this to you. We'll have doubters. I understand that. I'm just presenting the case about what our ancestors saw and what they wrote. And I'm not going to stand here and call them liars. I will not do that. Yes, I can say they were wrong for worshiping the angels that came from the space to the land here. Yes, if this is the case, for worshiping them, yes, they're wrong in that regard. But to call them a liar and say it didn't happen, when you have, let me put this map up again, brothers and sisters. You have all of these ethnic groups. It's too many for me to mention here right now on this tape. They have the same story. How? Way down in South Africa, there's a group of people that had the same experience. And they even charted their religion based upon those who came from Sirius. Brothers and sisters, how can all of these Africans be liars? If you hear any African who gets on YouTube and calls these people a liar, you get off them or you tell them off, because they're not African people, because we do not do that. Anyone with his right mind, you weren't there 3,000 years ago. You cannot sit there and say it didn't happen. None of us can say that. See? And we have rules even in Islam about things we don't know about. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's what we say, Allah alam. Because why? Subhanahu wa ta'ala has the knowledge for that. He knows best. He was there. He understands what happened. We don't. But we have to take face value. Look at all these groups that left everywhere. All of them have something to do with Sirius. Brothers and sisters, I'm hoping that you understand what I'm trying to say here. How can this be? Africans, Kemtiyu people, who are now become the people from some parts of South Africa. They become the Central Africans. They become the Southeast Africans. They become the East Africans. They become the West Africans. They become the North Africans. All of them have something to do with Sirius. All. How can that be if they're all liars? You're talking about millions of people, and it's been passed down and passed down and passed down. How can they be liars? This is what I'm trying to say. Let's get to some of our questions here. Okay, where somebody means son of Mali, yeah, which is the father's lineage, but their mother is Assyrian. Once you mix, you become Anu. Yes, the Anu people, or the original people who came from the we know as, we call it English, Nubia. Okay, they came in there, and then they then became the it's been, now I'm trying to remember, because I got so many things to say here. They became, I forgot what they called them now. Excuse me, I'm sorry. They had a name for them. Then they became the Ka people, because my dear brother, also probably Muhammad knows this too. There's very little difference between the person from Ethiopia and the Eastern Horn region and the Fulani. If you put a person from Habasha or Ethiopia next to a Fulani girl, and they're walking down the street in Kano or Borno or Kaduna or in those places like this, nobody's gonna sit there unless she has the clothes on. But if she wears Fulani clothing, no one's gonna know she's from Ethiopia, because we are essentially the same people. What happened was, we were the Ka people. When the Exodus occurred, the Ka people went back into Ethiopia, and in present-day Somaliland, Eritrea, and so forth, the Eastern Horn. They became those people. Those went to West, became the Fulani. That's right, brothers and sisters. This is the case. Thank you, my dear brother. Wa alaikum salam, rahmatullah. Thank you very much for showing up today. Okay, you asked somebody a question if they're Somali. Okay, and yes, provide your source. I don't know who you're talking. If you're talking about me, I'll share knowledge. Yes, those things. There's a lot of books, and I have some of the names of many of these books, and also there's stuff we have written even in the Arabic language that kind of talks about the same issue. But I can't put everything here. But matter of fact, I don't know where my thing is. I have to put my, please remind me, brothers and sisters, to put my email. If somebody wants to see this, they can, because and there's books too that you should also look into, because there's a lot of books now, and African scholars are writing a lot of books now, and which is true. Why? Because the African people know our languages. Okay, so they are now on the ground deciphering. They're going everywhere, and they're starting to find something, and they're starting to find out things in these languages, and they're just mesmerized. Because why? The Tubab historians, Europeans, Tubab is what is, we know them in Fulani language. They could not speak and decipher any of these languages. It took African scholars like Professor Obanga and Sheikh Diab and so forth and so on. They began to help. And then now we have other scholars from all over who are deciphering their people's languages and other languages they know, and they start presenting this evidence. This is what we want African scholarship, because why I'm talking today, African scholars are on the ground giving us information and so forth and so on. How do you know your people's history? Okay, brothers and sisters, please, we're not going to get into banter and having fights with one another. I want everybody civil. If we have something, we have a complaint, or we disagree, you disagree with me, you put your comment there and say, this is my proof on this, but we're not going to go downgrade people today, or I'm going to put you out, because we cannot. I know enough to mean Somali River. Okay, dear brother, please, I'm going to ask you, we're not into this, and I'm going to ask you now, we're not talking today about that issue. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, my dear brother, for showing up today. Thank you. Now, let's get back to this. Now, brothers and sisters, let's look at something else to this. We have this here. I got to mention this. I have to mention this situation. I believe in the late 1950s and the early 60s, this couple, he's an African American, but he looked like he's Fulani to me. He looks Fulani to me by the name, his name is Barney Hill. She's a Tubab American woman. They were married. Something happened to them, similar to what our African ancestors presented in Piper's Reeds, on monoliths. I'll get into that. In caves. I mean, okay, something happened to these people. They were dismissed. They decided to say, oh, this was interracial rage. They became insane because they were married to one another. And you can imagine how it was in the 50s, 60s, a black man married to a white woman. Okay, we know miscegenation laws and how crazy it was. Well, they begin to denounce them. But if anyone saw this movie, it's called the UFO incident. Please review that if you're interested in what happened to these people. See, the people who visited them and took them up into a spaceship, they said, right? Because this is related, told her that her husband, Barney, would die in 1 year after this visit. 1 year later, he did die. He died of a stroke. He died 1 year after they told her he will die. She then was told where they came from. This is related, brothers and sisters. Please bear with me on this. She began to explain. She says, well, she's not a scientist. I think she was a school teacher by trade, but she wasn't an astronomist. No one knew the things that whoever this commander was in this spaceship, whatever the situation would happen to them. Under hypnosis, they began to draw this out, and they asked her to draw a map. Why? She had a conversation with one of the angels who presented this evidence to her. She said to him, well, I don't know exactly where I'm at. I'm hearing this. He said, well, how can I explain to you where I'm at? Because he could communicate with her. And it wasn't through verbiage, but through mind, because they are superior beings. How could someone traverse thousands of, that's another story in itself, but they left from a region all the way to the earth. Then he drew a map for her to memorize. She, under the hypnotic trance, they asked her to draw the map of where these so-called aliens or extraterrestrials came from. Okay, she drew this map. Okay, look at this, brothers and sisters. She drew this map. Now, at the time, of course, they went after her. She's a BI, she's a B word. She's this. She's stupid. She's married to a black man. She went through some thing happened because she's married to a black man. All kind of stuff was laid out at her. She said, "This is what they told me." They dismissed it. 10 years later, they had stronger telescopes. One scientist found the range, which is Reticula 1 and 2, that she had described 10 years before. Now, brothers and sisters, how did she get this information? If she's a liar, she is not a scientist. She's not an astrologist. She's not any of that. And we didn't even know of these solar systems at that time, 10 years before. When she drew this map, none of us knew of these systems. None of us. 10 years later, they took her map and they lined up. Of course, there was little differences here and there, but they lined up the star system according as he told her. It was almost to a T. Now I'm trying to prove something to you, brothers and sisters, of saying something has happened on this earth. We have people this evidence here. I don't know how we can explain it off. Same with the doggone people, which we talked about. We've been talking about them. How can any of us here explain this off? She went through ridicule even after the map was finally verified. How did she know Reticula 1, the Zeta Reticula 1 and Zeta Reticula? How did she know this, brothers and sisters? 10 years before, nobody knew. This is in the 60s. It was the 70s they finally found this solar system. When they knew of her map, they began to ask questions. Okay, we want to see her map. And they began to map. They looked at the coordinates, and it was almost to a T. How, brothers and sisters? I'm just trying to prove a point to you. And I'm just trying to tell you that things happen to people, and sometimes it just is unexplainable. Like the doggone people. When they were saying they came in the 600s, they said they were visited. Okay, they said they were visited. They said that the normal people, that's what they called them, gave them the many things, even some of the star systems, even close to Earth, that we've recently found and some we haven't found yet. And they talked about the 3 stars of the Sirius, okay, and especially the 1C. Now, in Islam, we have something. I've been talking to my wife about this. We've been talking about this almost every day. We have something in Islam where, and I'll say this, the doggone people, and we move on to this because it's still related. The doggone people said that at the time of death, from the earth going into the sky, the souls rest in a place, the Sirius C, which they say in the many books that wrote, Emma Ya Toro. But when you look at this, the Emma is not quite right because they say it's sorghum. Again, because we have Europeans, Tuba, who are writing this out. Ya more or less equals what it should be. Ya and then the Toro, of course, is the stars, and this is what I call it, because this is more or less of the Messina fulfilled dialect. See, so now we have that, brothers and sisters. How did they get it? Now we have people saying they were liars. How? And then when they could not tell that our African ancestors and our brothers who were still living in the hills in Mali today, they were liars, then how did they come up with all this information about the solar system if someone didn't give it to them? And there's no way, if you hear somebody tell you that you can look up into the sky and you can see Sirius B, which is they call Potolo, and you can see the Sirius C, which is even smaller by the naked eye, is not true. You cannot. You can see the A during certain parts of the season. You could see that, which is called Siggy total in the fulfilled the Messina Fulfilled dialect. See, so let's get that out, and that's that, you know, and we think about this. And that's why I said our African ancestors, something happened to them. Now we're going to get further into this. My ancestor father, Shabaka, was the last of the great pharaohs, which is we know as pharaohs of Kemt, which is about the 25th dynasty, going closer to the 26th. He had a thing they call the Shabaka stone. You should do research on this. Very interesting. There's a lot of talk about this as well. He wanted to revamp the rule and the religion again, because he wanted to bring Tawhid back, the Ka back into, because it had been going back and forth, back and forth. He said he wanted to honor and worship as his ancestors ruled, okay? He said most of the scientists believe it was in the Old Kingdom, which again is between the 1st and the 6th, where all of the great accomplishments happened. Okay, now we have that part. That's important because why? When he had this rule, we had people leave ancient Kemt, okay? And if you look at the map going towards Nigeria, they ended up in Nigeria, in present-day Nigeria today. What did they call this country? They formed a nation. They call it Shabaka. Now, we're going to get more into this language maybe at another time. I'm going to give you something now that I've been talking about for weeks. I've been talking about my name. Why is it the way it is? Shabaka. See, and for weeks, I've been trying to research it. I've been researching it, trying to find. Finally, I got somebody to give me the designation and what it actually means. And now I'm very proud of that because it has significance. And what it actually means, and I will cover this here. I'll get to you guys. Hold it for 1 minute, brother. Please hold it for a second. I'm going to ask you guys, has anybody heard of this? And I talked about this last week. This Kasha. Anybody know what that is? This is part of what we were talking about before about my name, Shabaka. Kasha was another name for Kush. That's right, brothers and sisters. It was written on a monolith. This is another old name for Kush. They call Kasha. Remember, I told you I found something in the OT list where they had my name, my great ancestor Shabaka there, and they had something over to the right of his name, which I was trying to figure it out. And now we kind of understand that we have what is called Kasha. Kasha is what they call Kush at one time as well. Remember what the Ka means. Ka is the religion, the Tawhid of believing in Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, right? Meaning Amen Ra, meaning one who is sitting behind the sun, who governs the universe and the earth. See, so I'm giving you that. I'm giving you this part to again to assess for you to understand something. Okay, now we what you know what, brother? What makes this? Okay. I told you this is. I told you to. I'm not gonna have this because this we have. They trying to now. We had a woman try to start a fight. She was allegedly a woman. Now we have another one is trying to get in I'm throwing them out. We don't have time for that. We don't have anybody come here disrespecting anybody. This is not what this is about. This is not about people from Somalia per se, or people from Eritrea, or somebody from Ghana in particular. Okay, our dear brother says, Salam, how you doing, brother? Thank you very much for showing up. So we got to this part, and we've been finding now, no, excuse me, let me go back to that Shabaka's picture there. Excuse me, that's not it. We got to go back. No, this is the same one. Oh man, that's not right. Where's the other one at? Well, brothers and sisters, we have, they don't show the, I don't know what happened to them. Okay, never mind. On the map here, we have monoliths all over the place and all over Africa. They're in even in Morocco. They're everywhere. Many of them honoring and these monoliths. The African way of doing it is they say these are sacred sites. A lot of times they put a monolith on something because something happened to them, meaning somebody came from the space or something extraordinary happened. So they made a monolith. And I'll get into this another day, the second part of this. I probably have a 3-part or maybe 4-part about more of this. I won't get deeper because I want to just give you the preface to get your mind to be thinking. Because it's not right for us to disrespect our ancestors of the, now we have Africans who are writing. They are only reporting what they saw and what they find. And we find in languages. We're finding now Kasha is the name for Kush as we understand it. There's another name too, which I'll cover next week, or a couple of days or whatever, when I want to give me the permission. We'll talk about these other names for Kemt. And we'll talk about other things we found all the way in South Africa. But brothers and sisters, again, I'm setting you up now so you'll have something when this next you be brought to speed. Something happened to our people. Something happened to our people. And it was such a dramatic experience for them that they began to write. They began to put monoliths. They began to write in caves. They wrote on rocks. Anything they could put to talk about the experience that they had. When these angels came, these angels gave them specific knowledge about the Sirius system, all the way down to South Africa. We have Africans who talk about this. Okay, I'm talking about the priests and so forth who still gather this information, talks about this issue. Even Beta Israel, which is in Ethiopia, and I'll cover this name another time, Ethiopia, because this is the English and this is the Greek. Remember, it's supposed Ethiop, but Habasha, and I'll give you the significance of Habasha the next time around, inshallah. But in Ethiopia, the Beta Israel also uses the Sirius star system as a calendar and a new year. As I don't know if he's here today, I did see his thing. King Cam talked about this on his other program here the other day. He was talking about this issue. And so we've had this to happen. We've had these issues to come down. We've had the issues of our ancestors who left Egypt and something happened to them. They were visited. When they were visited, they were given specific knowledge about the outer space. It's just incredible. And none of us have the strong enough vision to map out the Sirius star system. Yes, you can see Sirius, the big, which is called Sigi Total. Yes, because even the Europeans use that. We've had East Africans use that. But how about B and C? They had to be told. They could not see it with the naked eye. But yet they still charted it because someone had to give them this information. And this is key. See, this is key. And so as we see this map, brothers and sisters, here, and I'll be getting out of here in a few minutes here, I wanted to bring this to you because I want you to think in your mind about what happened to our ancestors. But not only to our ancestors, brothers and sisters, but to this couple here, Barney Hill, who I believe, well, I look at him, he looked like he's a Fulani brother, but he could pass for some people from Somalia, Eritrea as well. But he reminded me of a Fulani man, big time. Okay. They were abducted and they were told, they were talked to, and so forth. And who can call them liars, especially when she produced a map that at that time nobody had knowledge of this solar system, this star system, but she drew it. And of course they dismissed it. But 10 years later, they found it. And then they took her information and her map that she drew out, and they married up to what they found in the telescope, and it matches. She's not a scientist, brothers and sisters, again. She's not a physicist. She's not an astrologist. She's none of that. She didn't have no information about space. She didn't, the interstellar space, let alone our solar system and outside our solar system, which is, this is outside of our solar system. Zeta Reticula 1 and 2 is the question of, this is where they came from. This is what they told her. They gave all adjoining systems around their solar system, and she drew them out. Brothers and sisters, this is what I'm getting at, to get you in modern times to understand this is what happened to our African ancestors too. The same as this, as I'm leading you just to this, same would happen to Betty Hill in the late 1950s, early 1960s. This happened to our great ancestors in Africa as well. They were given knowledge about the solar system that's off the chart, but they erred. They begin to worship those creators, those beings, those angels that came. It must have been so profound for them to come and hear, if you read about the doggone people, they described them. We have the Igbo people, we have the Yoruba people, we have the doggone people, we have forgot some others who, they draw them out and they worship them to a degree, and they created what they look like, okay, and so forth and so on. All of this, brothers and sisters, our ancestors had something happen to them, and what happened to them was they left their religion of Kemt, which was Ka, as they began to go all the way across into their lands. They began to worship these angels or extraterrestrial, whatever you want to call them. They begin to worship them. And that's where the problem lies. Subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't ask you to worship them, even in the religion of Ka. Even if you read the hymn of Ani, hymn of Aten, the hymn of Tawheed, they never told. He said Subhanahu wa ta'ala is one and only. They said we don't even know his form. We don't know exactly where he's at. I mean, this is all Tawheed. This is what our ancestors in Kemp wrote about Tawheed, meaning the monotheism. They left all that. As they left that, they formed their own religions based upon what came out to visit them. They began to form religions out of that. Then they left that. Then they became Juju. They became Orissa. They became Ifa. They became Obia and Voodoo and so forth. So all of these other types of religions and so forth and so on and whatnot. They became to be this. My contention, Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Alam, he knows best, is why in some ways we've been punished. Because yes, he sent angels to give information, but he didn't tell you to worship them. And we did that. And it's wrong. That's the part we can criticize them about. But to say that what they wrote and what they saw was a lie, we cannot say that, brothers and sisters. We just cannot. It's wrong. They were there 3,500 years ago when this happened and when they drew the thing out. I mean, and then when they begin to even talk about the Sirius solar system, they had no modern technology of telescopes, space shuttles, or anything. Even though the ancient Egyptians show some of them going into spaceships into interstellar space, coming back, they show that. So we cannot say that this is a lie. We cannot say this is a lie. It didn't happen. See? And so I make that correlation again to modern times. See, how did this lady in 1960 draw this out after she said her and her husband, which is here, who Barney Hill, who I think was Fulani. He's Fulani American. He probably didn't know his heritage because, the slavers didn't tell us our heritage. But to me, he was Fulani American. He married this lady here, and this Barney Hill and Betty Hill, and they said they had their encounters with angels who took them up, and then she was questioning the one in charge, who were they said they measured them, they did like some kind of physical of some sort on them. Barney Hill talked about it in the movie. If you want to see this movie, it's called The UFO Incident. You should look at it if you're interested in that. But something happened to them, brothers and sisters, the same that happened to the Africans. Something happened to this family. And when she came back, she had all this information. And when the scientists and the psychologists examined her, they hypnotized her, put her in sleep, and she drew out this solar system, as you heard me say earlier. This solar system here is right on T. What 10 years later, 1970s, they found it. They called this Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2. This is where they were from. And again, this is parallel to what our ancestors have said. Somebody visit them. Because how could the doggone people, I'm sorry, brothers and sisters, we have to ask questions. We have to look for answers about our ancestors. Why did doggone people have this knowledge? They're not scientists. They didn't have space shuttle. They didn't work for NASA. There was no such thing as NASA at that time. They didn't have the powerful telescopes. They didn't have all of this stuff that we have today. They had none of this. But yet and still, they charted out the Orion and the Sirius solar system. Come on now. How? And even said there was a Sirius C, which in 1995, the scientists, they said they believe that it is there. But in Islam, I was going to say this. We have a belief called Barza. This is the place where you remember in the old prototype Tawheed, monotheism, our African ancestors, and I get into the Islamic part. Our ancestors had, in which the Fulani people still carry the names today, as you heard me say 1,000 times. They had the Ka, which was the your body, and what the soul was inside you on earth. In Islam, we have this the body, and inside we have the nefs. Same with the ancient Egyptians. We had the body, and then inside we had the Ka. Okay, see my correlation. When we die under the religion of Ka, we went into the grave. Now we call this Kara. You Fulani brothers and sisters, you still have this name today, don't you? Because we were caretakers even after we left Kempt. We still carried the names of our religion that we practiced at that time in Kempt, thousands and thousands of years ago. Then this Kara, now because you're inside the grave, the Ka leaves to go into the space to marry it with the Ba. In Islam, we have we have burial, and then the nefs, okay, and then the nefs, then we have ruh, the soul. Now the soul's left, it travels. We also believe in Islam, we call barza, which is some region, some area in the space where the souls meet. The doggone set is in Sirius C. I'm giving you all of this information, bro, so you can do the research. I'm talking about it because we have some who are denouncing this, meaning it's a lie. It's not a lie, brothers and sisters, because we do not know. We have to take for face value. Just because our intelligence, what we see now, we were not there. We were not there. Our ancient ancestors had some knowledge. Somebody gave them that. They just not could. Nobody can look up into space and chart out a solar system. I'm sorry, you cannot. You got hidden stars all over the place. You cannot. You can see Jupiter. You can see Mars. And certain times you can see even the Sirius Sigitolo, the big star. You can see that certain times a year. But chart the solar system, the stars, you cannot. Impossible. Impossible, brothers and sisters. We got some questions here. Okay, my dear brother. Thank you very much, my dear brother, for showing up today. Thank you very, very much. You said, no problem. I understand, my dear brother. Hey, you're a very busy man. I understand. Yes, I remember the Zulu said many things being mentioned. Yes. And this is, again, part of a book that one brother talked about this issue as well, because this is something, brothers and sisters, that is so profound, and we have to look and find answers to it. But we cannot call our ancestors liars. We cannot. It's wrong, because something happened to them. Something happened to them. And he said many African tribes had a yes. And this is the map I drew earlier here. I have a map talking about everybody. The Tuareg have traditions. The Amazigh have traditions. Everybody has traditions based upon Sirius. How? Running all the way across, brothers and sisters. Again, let me go back to this. Running all the way across the whole continent, we have African ethnic groups all coming with the same story of them being visited, have information given to them, even though they spoke different dialects, but many kept the same words. See, so again, how can we reconcile this? How can we reconcile this? We have to look at this, and how can we reconcile this? Now, the most easier position is to say it's a lie, that our ancestors were liars, and say they were out of their mind, out of their gourd. They didn't know what the heck they were talking about. We can say that. That's the easiest way to go. But then we weren't there when this thing happened 3,000 years ago, or 2,500, or 4,000, 5,000 years. We weren't there. But it was so dramatic for them to mention it and to draw it and to talk about it. And I'll get further into the monoliths to cover this, and languages. Again, linguistics. Brothers and sisters, our African scholars, we are now starting to get together. We're starting in regions. We have brothers who are very, very familiar with the West African languages, the Wolof, Jollof, Mende, and so forth, so on, Fulani, and starting to look at what the old people were saying and things we found about this. Our script, Fulani has a script, the Mende script, we have that. The Mendika have this script. The Bambara, they have this script. Everybody, the Igbo, all of us have a script. All of this stuff, and we had encounters. Everybody talks about issues. Everybody talks about different times they were visited and what happened. Now, how to reconcile this? Let's go back to this again. For those who come late, we'll go back to this here. Excuse me. Okay, yeah, here we go. Now, brothers and sisters, I have to again relay this to you. This lady in the modern times, 1959 and 60, her and her husband, who you heard me talk about here, to me, he's Fulani. He looked like a Fulani man to me. This is 1959, 60. You can see by the haircut and so forth and so on. They said they were visited. They were taken up to, and Barney talked about him being examined and so forth and so on. But she was the one that had the talk with the commander of whoever these angels were that supposed to had taken them. And we say Leslie because we don't know. I'm never going to call these people liars. Cannot. Because we have, again, how do we reconcile? It's the same thing with our ancestors. I'm bringing this to you to modern times. She drew out this solar system map. In the the late 50s, we didn't know of this solar system. In the 60s, we didn't know of it. It was 1972 or 1973, they found it. Then someone said, wait a minute. We had a lady who drew this out because she had experience with people came from this region, they said. They took her map and they married it up. They call it, here, the reticular 1 and reticular 2. Is she a liar? Then how, just like our ancestors, are they liars too? They said they had contact. Are they liars? How could this woman here, who's none of the scientists, she didn't have a space shuttle, she didn't have NASA behind her, she didn't have a telescope, she couldn't tell you one way or another. But she was given this from them. And then 10 years later, they found her solar system. They found it and they said, wow, there it is. And we know of it today as reticular 1 and reticular 2 out of our solar system. So I'm trying to make a point, brothers and sisters, in this. Okay, where are we at here? Yes, my dear brother, and yes, and 90% of the stars are hidden in dark matter and space. Yes, they're hidden. And even in the solar system outside, we cannot see this with naked eye. We just cannot. We're starting to uncover this because the what they call it, the Hubble space, whatever they call it, now it's going through and it's presenting pictures. I saw on YouTube, beautiful. They're showing galaxies. Our Prophet ﷺ talked about the beauty, and and some of this is off the chart, the beauty. I can understand why they talk about the earth. When you don't know anything, you think here is beautiful. Wait till you go up there. Now I can kind of have a glimpse of what's going on. Thanks for the map. It's learned the migration pattern from Kemp. Yes. Thank you, my dear brother. And how you doing, my dear brother? Thank you very much for showing up. There's stones lined up in Sudan, lined up, yes, with constellation of Taurus and predates. Yes, they're Nubians who are taught. Now, yes, and now we got some other parts. You were late. You didn't see this part I talked about, and I'll get deeper to this a little bit. On one monolith, they have this here, and I'm going to show this to you here, and I'll get this to you. Now, I was talking about this days ago, talking about my name and so forth and so on. And I told you there was another name that they had for Kempt. I'll get to that the next segment, inshallah. But I'll give you this now for research purposes. Kush had a name that was called Ka-Sha. Okay, now, Shah, and that's why the 25th dynasty in the OT list, I saw my ancestor's name and I saw something by it, and it intrigued me, but I couldn't remember because I saw it real quickly. I stopped. He has this name, and he has another name, another OT name, another king named Fari. He has another name also in that. And he was entitled with a name they called this here, Ra, Shah, Ba, and then I got to put that in there, Ka, and there he was given this name, okay, and this is part of it. But Ka-Sha was another name for Kush. Shah, we were talking about before, because he came from this region. Shah here has to do with Cush. The Ba is the people. As you heard me talk about the linguistics before, the Metaneher, Ba has many meanings. Ba can mean a group of people sitting over here and they're from some other place. And you tell me, who are these Ba? Who are these people? Or Ba means a group of people someplace. Also, Ba in religion is the soul. We have the nefs in Arabic, where you have the soul resting here on earth that dies. It goes in the ground and they call Kara. Okay. Then when it goes up in space and it's the soul, is called Ba. So it has many meanings according to how it's written. See, so I'll get more into that at another time in days from now. Well, alaikum salam, brother. Thank you very much, my dear cousin. Thank you very much for showing up. I appreciate that today. Yes, that's yes, and the Metanerer, yes, and written in the script, yes, and now my brother who was in linguistics was talking about this, and they start to uncover these, because I'll get more into this, what has happened to our African people as they start to leave, because something happened to them. And the error that we can get them on is they begin to worship the creations. Subhanahu wa ta'ala sent somebody, because the African people have too much knowledge. And they were given all this knowledge without any of the modern technology. We don't have computers for mathematical things that our ancestors came up with. They say that in the suppositories in Timbuktu today, in astrology, where they have many of the books, why they keep it from us? Because they said that if we saw the stuff, it would rewrite many things. That's why you, me, we can't get in there. They don't want us, and why they're trying to preserve these, because we know our enemy will destroy that, because everything they have destroyed before. The monoliths, majority of the monoliths that we knew of in Africa today were destroyed. Why is that? Why is that? Others, brothers and sisters, I'll get back to you in a minute. Hold your horses, brothers. It showed them taking on, this is way back, on ships, monoliths, going into Europe. Some were destroyed and many were stolen. Why is that? Why is that, brothers and sisters? Why? It's interesting, isn't it? We'll get more into that, at another time. And we're making history. We got it right here this time. Yes. My dear brother, please greet us the next. Okay, next time you come in, please greet us. Give us your greetings. So this is, we're African people. We always respect one another. We shalom alaikum, hi, or whatever you want to say. That's fine, but as long as you greet us, because I'm your elder, please greet us all. Thank you. Okay, Big Islam. Okay, I don't know what you mean by that, brother. Big Islam. I don't know. Please elaborate, because I don't understand what you mean by that. So again, brothers and sisters, we have this situation at the beginning. They have left camp. They are now starting to migrate. They became the Tuareg in North Africa, as you can see in Algeria. And when they left, they had a lot of knowledge, Kemetic knowledge. They formed a nation they called Shabaka. Yes. Interesting, isn't it? Well before Arabic was spoken. Many of the racist scholars today say, no, it was in Arabic, meaning the rivers. No, they didn't speak Arabic at that time. So it was not about that, but they named their country Shabaka. And we talked about the Shabaka stone, which is very interesting too, which there's been many scientists over the years have talked about this. There's many interpretations of it, and so forth and so on. So we have these situations. Now, in closing, brothers and sisters, in modern times, Newsweek talked about issues that same thing. We're finding African-style monoliths all over the world. There was one in Las Vegas here. I reported here about a year ago. I think I did a show and I showed it was made out of some kind of metallic material. Some said it was there for years. Others said, no, it was just recently put there. We have other reports that people stating that there was monoliths put in one side of the town. Suddenly it was there. No truck. They don't know how it got there because something that heavy and that big, you know, how did they get it to hold and stay put? Because you just can't get it and drop it and that's it. Because, you know, it would rock and everything. And people would see a big truck, a big crane taking some big metal thing to weigh tons or a big rock and set it in the middle of the city or on outskirts of the city. It's impossible. People would see it. But it appeared and some said it disappeared. We have these things happening in the world. And many of these people are Tubab. So we can't say they were crazy Africans. We have many Tubab who are reporting these things. And this is related to our African ancestors and what happened to them. See, so we need, and that's why I'm giving you this equation today. And I'm saying something happened to them that was so profound for them to begin to worship these creations from the space. Outside of the Kaaba, what they learned first. Because our people, as they came to West Africa, East Africa, they went to South Africa, they had stages of religious, and now many still worship the traditional African religion, which is totally different from what it was practiced and kept, and so forth and so on. And why they're doing it, this is why, my personal opinion, why we are being punished today. Because there was no, you know, and the Ka, we know that the words of the hymn of Ani and all these others was Tawhid. We talk about Tawhid. It was nothing in there saying that we're supposed to worship, even though the Europeans say that our ancestors of Kemp worship thousands and thousands of different gods. It's not true. We know that. We know that they drew images of Subhanahu wa ta'ala in many forms. We know that, but they did not go and pick up an image of a bird and begin to bow to it. They didn't do that. I'll get into more of this at another time as well. So I wanted to present this picture to you, brothers and sisters, so you will have this, so we'll get further into it for you to do your research on this. But I will say again to you, to all of us, please, the African scholars are now presenting evidence for our history. It's about time. Secondly, none of us have the right to say that the Dogon or the Fulani or the Bambara or whomever in South Africa are liars. We cannot say that. It is wrong because we weren't there. And when they drew these things, we cannot say they were liars. It's wrong. We as African people should not. We should examine what our ancestors wrote. Can we get them on something? Yes. They begin to worship. That's all the way across. The Tuareg begin to do it. Even in Beta Israel in Ethiopia today, when they use the Cirrus as a method, a goal, of course, of planning, so forth and so on. They too use that. All of the Africans who left all had experiences naming Cirrus as the star system, and the people who visit them come from there. One ethnic group even said that warriors came from certain parts of Cirrus. We know there's 3 stars. They said it's 3 stars. The sea, no one can see. I have my contentions about what's going on there. But anyway, all have the same exact thing. They were visited. This is what they were told. This is what the star system represents. This is the star system Orion. This is so-and-so, all of this. which they could not achieve. Now they left Messer. Left Kempt. Kempt was no longer power now. When these angels came and gave them further information, they were not in Kempt anymore now. But they all had this profound experience. So again, brothers and sisters, how do we reconcile that? How do we reconcile what our ancestors saw and they wrote in caves? And in the Sahara, you can go there to Tuareg, even some of the people became the Igbo and Yoruba, became the Fulani and other ethnic groups, all have caves where they drew things. Some, they show some type of contact with some strange beings from the heavens. See, so we go back to the same issue again. But one thing we cannot call them as liars. We should refrain. If you don't believe it, that's fine. But you don't call them liars because they were there, we weren't. Same way with Herodias, what the Europeans do to Herodias. They say he's a liar. He was standing there with the Kempt people 5,000 years ago. He saw them. He drew pictures of them in his book called Histories. He showed them black, coal black, with thick lips and big nose. And people called him a liar. He was there. We weren't. Our ancestors drew these pictures of things that they saw, and they saw solar systems that were given. We have people calling them liars. How? You weren't there when it happened. They were there. So we as African people should be very cognizant of when we dismiss our ancestors who looked at something. Now, can we chide them? Yes. On worshiping these beings? Yes. We can get them on that because it didn't come. There's nothing in Messer that tells them to get a statue and worship it. That's not Ka in Meta-Neher and the religion of Kempt Ka. The original religion Ka, there was no worshiping of animals or river or any other item like that. None. See? Okay, we have here. We need to take the time. Yes, we need to take the time to do the research. But I'm going to tell you something, to be honest with you. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give some of us more knowledge than the others. As my teacher told me one day in Ghana, he was talking about something. We were sitting there, and I was in Agbozobe, beautiful village, eastern part of Ghana. Beautiful. Hotter than heck, though, but beautiful. Running stream through it, palm trees, full coconuts and stuff. I mean, beautiful, green. I mean, almost like hurt your eyes, so much green. He sat there and told me, he said, there's always somebody that knows more. He always gave me those little short tidbits. He said, there's always somebody that knows more. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give more knowledge to some of us than the others. Or he'll give the others something more knowledge in mathematics than the others. That's how Subhanahu wa ta'ala works. See, so we have to remember that. We need to take time to study our history for ourselves. Yes, we need to study, but you need to be taught. That's why another thing, some of us cannot, we just cannot, just like Arabic. You can be self-taught to a degree, but if Subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give you the keys, you won't understand it. You won't be able to say it and write it very well. You have to be taught it. Just like the Quran. You can read the Quran, but you should be taught it. Because there's what's called a tafsir. You look at the tafsir because you may see a word and say, oh, I know this word means here. Aswad means black. You see the word there, you say, but wait a minute. What about the context of the sentence? See, you have to be taught this. Even though you may know what word is here and there. You may see a word tahaba, okay, meaning someone to leave in the Quran, meaning Quranic Arabic. I speak that. That's why I say it, because you see this. You see words, but you have to see the context of the sentence. The same way in our history, some of us are going to have more knowledge than the others. We have to accept that. We may have somebody who's very strong in astrology. We have to listen to our brother and subscribe to him and see what he's talking about. Don't have the crab and barrel and be jealous. You listen to what he's strong in this area. He may be weak, talk about the Sahel and the savannah and the corridor. He may not know about that, but he knows about maybe some stuff in the space and mathematics. See, others will be strong in history. That's what we have to look at. How you doing, my dear sister? Thank you for showing up. I didn't receive notification. Yeah, it's the same issue again. I got a lot of people telling me the same thing. They're not receiving notifications. This is an ongoing problem, right? We discussed how people of Kemp didn't kneel before a statue. Yes, we had periods, of course, of renegades who left the religion. And just like Islam, you're going to have periods. The Prophet ﷺ said to us that every 100 years there will be a reformer, because Subhanahu will send a person to bring us back to Tawheed. See, so even though Kemp, they had reformers as well. They had a Pharaoh, Pharaoh in English. He was a reformer, bring the people back. The last of the reformers was Shabaka, my ancestors, of the 25th dynasty, because the 26th was weak, 27th now was over, because now the Persians took, then the Romans took it back from them, and black rule was gone forever. My brother giving his salam to my sister. So we have that. And now, dear brothers and sisters, we got this issue. For those late, you please review my tape on this, and go back to this. We've given analogies because I want to know what you're thinking. The evidence I'm giving to you, what are you thinking? What is in your mind, what are you thinking about what happened to them? But you cannot call them liars. Because for you to call them a liar, that means you had to be present 3,000 years ago when this happened. Or you cannot say that they did not have this contact when evidence showed that something happened to them. And they were there. We weren't there. See, we have to be very careful of that. And I've learned some of that because it's Islam, because what our prophet has taught us, alayhi about issues of things that we don't understand and we don't see. And I told you what my teacher told me in Ghana. He said to me something very prevalent. He said to me, Mr. Kose, who's passed on now, when I gave him this thing, you heard me say this in other class before, I start to ask him about questions about why children being killed and why we have this happen, why this person was hit by a car, and the bad man who's robbing, stealing, and killing, he lives to 90 years old unscathed. Nothing touched him. But a good man who's 30 years old dies a violent death, or he dies from a disease or something. I start asking him all these questions. In a nutshell, he said to me, you'll know that the universe is true by leaving things alone. That's what he said to me. He said, by leaving things alone of things we do not understand. What happened 3,500 years ago, we have evidence in front of us. But can we say that our our Kemetic brothers and sisters, Kemtiyu people were liars? They didn't know what they were talking about? No, we cannot. We should refrain from that because we do not have the evidence to refute them. But we can talk about them leaving the Ka to go to worship fish, start voodoo, starting to worship spirits and wickedness and so forth and so on. Yes, we can chide them on that, but the other stuff we cannot. I'll review in turn. Yeah, okay. Yes, okay, my dear cousin. Thank you very much for doing that. And thank you for giving your salams, my dear brother. Thank you very much. And we got, thank you, brother, for showing up today. I don't know that name you got there. Yeshua Poison. Boy, that's a interesting name. Yes, you got an interesting name there, my dear brother. Very interesting. But in the recap, and I will close here, brothers and sisters, in the recap here. I've given you an analogy here And even if you say it didn't happen, it's not the case. But we have something that's intangible. How did we look at the doggone people? How did they know the situation of the Cirrus in the fashion they did? By eyesight, you can see Siggy Tolo, the big star, bright. You can see it. Certain times of the year, you can see it. Yes, but the B is so small you cannot see it with the naked eye. But they charted it. Now, C, no one has been able to see it. They said that this C is, which is called, again, we I don't want to get deep into linguistics. Seen a dialect, and because the Europeans, they call certain things MA and this AMA and all that. Be careful of that, because you have to look at the translations and understand that. Because in this, when you talking about they mean sorghum, it doesn't mean sorghum. That's why I'm saying, brothers and sisters, when you look at the linguistics, even some of our African brothers, because they copied what the Tubab said, you got to look at the linguistics, that Emma and Amma and stuff like sorghum is not the case. You have to look at it. That's why I don't use Emma. I call it Ya, because why? Ya is a preposition, and it talks about something about the stars and so forth and so on, right? Ya meaning something that's there. We know it's there, but it could be out. Emma, meaning Emma, they said means sorghum. Not necessarily the case. That's why I'm trying to say. See, again, this linguistics, I won't get deeper to that. That's why we have to be very careful when the Tubab says, I talked to Yahya, this Yahya, and Yahya told me this. We know Europeans have been notorious for butchering African languages, and Arabic too. We know that. They change things around. See, we know that. So we have to be very careful of that. And I'm going to give you a tidbit here of something. Okay, let's look at this. I'm going to put this to you here. And I want you guys to look at this. This has been a contention of many of our brothers from South Central, Southeastern, and South Africa about this word, Bantu. They have contention about this. And again, this is tied in to what has happened to our ancestors. See, because there's something, brothers and sisters, and I'm going to put this, I want you to be food for thought. This is Bantu. Oh, excuse me. I made a mistake here. Please excuse me. Here is not that. Excuse me. It's yeah. Here we go. I think that's how they got it now. Yeah. Let me put this here. And now this is something, it's related to what I was talking about. It's related, brothers and sisters. See, it's related. And I need to discuss the Bantu soon. Yes, yes, because this is the people from the South Central and others. They don't like this word because the Portuguese, excuse me, not Portuguese. The Europeans said they concocted this word. That's another story. I won't get into that. That's another history. What we need to understand is why. Okay, yeah, Bantu. Yes, most of us have this significance because of why we have this, because of the migration. Let me see, excuse me, here where we can find it. Yeah, because we have this migration here showing again, and this is my mom. I'm showing you something that's directly when I did my DNA. It shows my mommy, who was Fulani, and shows what happened to her and so forth. You notice something over to your right hand corner, you see the word Ka there. Very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting, isn't it? See, so that I'm giving you something to show you a migration that has happened. They went to the north, they came back from the north and went back to the south, and then they began to go back from the south across, going to east and west as well. Very, 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 very interesting, brothers and sisters. Very, very interesting. And we got another brother here. Okay, when we got our brother here was was asking King Ham to teach. it's very, because see, this is what our brothers from the south was talking about. They were saying that the Bantu, essentially, what I understand, is not really a language, because there's many languages. Because Swahili is part of quote unquote Bantu. Bantu is actually something that was written on a monolith. And this is why we talked about it. And they had this mean. I'll get to that in another segment. And what was the second? Believe that the name was Bantu. Yes, in the Bantu language. Yes, because what is actually, brothers and sisters, Bantu language? See, because there's so many languages in the central to the south. So where is this distinct Bantu language? There's none. You say Bantu, meaning all. You say like the Hausa, this Zulu, and all these other languages. There's Lingala. There's a whole many, but there's no quote unquote essential Bantu language, because you have all these languages, and this is why they're upset with. They say Africans shouldn't use this word. I've seen this, and I understand some of the things that they said. Our brother said he's going to teach. He said he's going to teach this is a very. I don't know what you would teach, because even Zulu is represented quote unquote as Bantu. See, and so and I don't even have. I mean, I was trying to study. 50 years ago, tried to study the Zulu, because I loved it, the monolithic, the way it's, but I couldn't remember. No, I take that back. I do have some words I remember back, but it was one particular word I loved in Zulu, and I didn't understand why I loved it so much. But now as a Muslim, now I can kind of figure it out, because there's a word umfakane, meaning essentially like jihad, right? I remember way back when I heard it the first time, I loved it, and I remembered it, and I think I even told King Cam about this word before too. But it was a movement like a jihad of the Zulus. I won't get into that story, but anyway, you do the research on that, and it's what happened in Stern. They call it Mufakani. It's very, very interesting. The Queens are Nubians, I think. We have this. You have to follow you got to go King Cam's, his programs, and go to my programs. We talked about this issue about being who's black and why they're black. We've proven this many times over. Each time we give more evidence and stuff like this. We know the queens and so forth, because again, because the king's list, there's 5 names of the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh means Pharaoh. He has 5 names. The 4th is Sultan Ba. Here we go again with Ba. The Sultan Ba means southern name. The southern people. Who is your southern people? Southern people is not Europe. Southern people is not Ireland or Wales or Russia or Norway. Southern means in the land, mean black folk. See, so that's something. And again, brothers and sisters, one of the evidence we have too about my ancestor Shabaka in the 25th century, 25th dynasty. Why the ancient people. Now, let's look at this analogy here again. Let me get you this here to show you something about this, because I want this, because I forgot to talk about this issue. We've been hearing about the Tubab is running Kemt, ancient Kemt. They were Tubab. Yes, there were black slaves there. Yes, we were cleaning toilets. Yes, we were cleaning this. We were monkeys in trees. We were this, that, also from so on. But when my ancestor came to rule in the 25th dynasty, he said he wanted to rekindle his ancestors' religion. He was a black man. Now, you know, and I know, he was not talking about rekindling some white man's religion. Think about this, brothers and sisters, this analogy. Again, proving that the people of the old kingdom, the first of the first dynasties, there were black folk, because he said he wanted to go back to rule and to worship as they did. And he was what? The rulers of what? The upper and lower lands. That is not Tubal. I'm sorry, brothers and sisters, those who believe that. No Tubal ruled in this fashion. Yes, they came as conquerors and interlopers. Yes, they conquered, but they were not indigenous. They were not real indigenous rulers of both lands. And they did not possess the Sultan Ba, which is a name coming from, we understand, Kush, but now we know Kush has another name called Kasha. Kasha. We know that as well. And make a point about that, even our prophet, Islam, why did he call Ethiopia Habasha? I'll get into that. That's very interesting, isn't it? He didn't call it Ethiopia. He called it Habasha. I'll get into that in another time. Another segment, I'll get into that. But I wanted to give you that, brothers and sisters, as a backdrop, again, to prove, because our brother was talking about the issue about being black. We have come up with so many things about black people and so forth and so on. I told you Bantu means black person in Bantu. You know, I don't know if I'm wrong on this, but I don't know where is quote unquote Bantu spoken, because Southern Africa, the South Central to Eastern to the South, there's Croatian speakers. You got hundreds of different ethnic groups and languages and dialects. Even Zulu has dialects. The Hausa has dialects. There's many. So who is speaking quote unquote Bantu? I'm curious about that. That's why the South Africans, what you call Azania, why they're upset. And then what's it? Okay, now brother, now I think I know what you're trying to do here. Please stay on topic here. Get us something. We're talking about an issue here. You get on the program here. I think I know what you're trying to do here, brother. Matter of fact, I'm not gonna. We have to look at this, and where is the Bantu? Who is actually speaking, quote unquote, his ancestral religion? Interesting that Shabaka said that. Yes, because again, he was the last of the great reformers. Subhanahu wa ta'ala had told our prophet, gave him knowledge. He said that there would be reformers. I believe in Egypt and Kemp, we have reformers, because we did. We have, if you look at the OT, we have reformers. We have people who came and reformed, brought the people back, because they were getting away from Tawheed, the Ka, and getting away from that, and they brought the people back, and then it slid back, and then they were brought back. Shabaka was the last to bring the people back to what we know as Ka, but they had other names also for this. See? And so the Shabaka stone that he had, many people are still trying to decipher it, and many said they do this. The Europeans have come up with all kinds of stuff. But we know one thing, the Shabaka stone mean the unification of the upper and lower Egypt. This throws the Tubab out, because Shabaka said in his documents when he wrote, he said, I want to restore my ancestors' religion and their rule. That means who? Black people were ruling way in the old kingdom. That again is proof. And I'm telling you, there's no black man. You talking about Afrocentric. You talking about black nationalism. Those brothers, our ancestral brothers in those days, were more Africanists, so to speak, or black nationalists than we are today. That's right. They call themselves, we know, Kemtiyu, meaning black man, black person, black man. I mean, come on. Now, even my ancestor, our ancestor, Shabaka says, I want to rule as my ancestor did, and their religion. He's talking about his ancestors, talking about here in Kemt. They were not white. White people cannot begot black folk. Let's be honest. That's genetics. You can't get two Greeks to marry and start producing black people unless one of them got black heritage. Or a Roman, two white Romans can't go and marry and start dropping black babies all over the place. They can't do it. We can. We can do it. Our genetics, we have that makeup to produce children that are like. They cannot. Unless they're mixed with our genes, then they can. See, so that's something that we should look at. And what language is this you told me? This is in English. I'm a Muslim. What is that? What, brother? I don't know what you mean by that. You please elaborate on that, because I'm curious, because there's no such Bible as an English word, and that represents the Asara, the Christians, and so forth and so on. The Muslims don't use this word. What does Subhanahu wa Ta'ala calls his book? He doesn't call it a Bible. I don't know, brother. This is almost near blasphemy what you just brought for us. And I'm a strong Muslim, okay, and scholar also. And we don't use this word because it's not a Bible. And Subhanahu wa Ta'ala didn't call his book a Bible. So this is I'm not going to even give you a chance to respond to that, because I know that I'm not going to put up with that. So anyway, his answer was religion. Yeah, he said that. That's true, brothers. He said that, and he was the last reformer, because the 26th dynasty, we have weak leaders, and by this time now, the Tubab had just almost gained control. 27th dynasty, the Persians took over, and black rule was finished. We start having a mass exodus in these periods, going all the way up to the third AD. After that, the third, and when the Romans, the church decided they want to kill off the rest of the black scholars and all that, and he did. They sent soldiers down there, and they massacred and they destroyed suppositories and everything. This led to another, again, mass migration. We had many of the black people still living there. The Kemtiyu was still living under the Roman and the Persian. They still allowed them to have their citizenship. They still were considered native to the land, and so forth and so on. But when the Romans came in and started to kill at will, and the 1325 AD, it's 300 years or so before Islam took over, and they began to go south, west, and so forth, and get out of there. And the last remaining black folk were just about gone. Then, of course, way down south, we have the Said people, and we have black people down still in the South Egypt today. We have that. So this is all this, brothers and sisters. It's very interesting, and I'm hoping that you piqued your interest. You guys do your research on what I was talking about today. I want people, our brothers and sisters, you to ponder this, who missed this. Please go back, and I'm asking you a question. How do we reconcile what our brothers saw, what they wrote, and what affected them? How do we reconcile that? How do we reconcile the fact that all of these African groups that left out had contact or some contact with somebody in interstellar space, and it gave them, and all have their religious guidance, their focus on mainly the Sirius star system? Huh? Even all the way down to South Africa, the Sirius solar system is focused. Beta Israel, the Falasha people, Sirius solar system. I'm asking everybody, how do we reconcile that? One thing that I don't want, if anybody comes next time we have this, inshallah, if somebody write the word that they were liars, I'm throwing you out. Because you, me, anybody else, we cannot say that. They were there, we weren't. Okay? And the same thing like I talked about Herodias. The Europeans called him a liar when he was sitting there with the ancient Egyptians at that time, and he drew pictures of in his book called The Histories. Okay, he drew pictures of them and he talked about their color. And we have modernists today who claim that he's a liar. And when he was there, we weren't there. So I want to know how we reconcile this. See, how do we reconcile this? And I'll get more to this at another time. That's why people live in southern Egypt. Yes, yes, and we have Black people who still remain in the region, and that would be the Delta region. They still are Black today. They never have changed. They're still Black, especially the Said people. They're famous. If anyone knows about the Said people, they look just like African Americans, basically, because now they're lighter skinned and they're more because of the mixing that happened, but they're still Black folk. They walk down the streets of LA, you're gonna be saying, hey, what's happening, brother? You're not gonna be calling them Tuba, because they're Black people, with various colors, hair texture, just like we have African Americans today, various shades of colors and so forth and so on, facial textures. We have that in Said. The Said people are famous, and their manners and customers and their dress. They wear emas, emas Arabic. They wear turbans and so forth and so on, and whatnot. And a lot of the sisters down in that region are very, 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 very beautiful. I was in Egypt very short time. I'm telling you, as a man, I'm saying this: the sisters there are very, very, very beautiful. Okay, I have to say that, very, very beautiful. And those who have went to the Said region, way down south Egypt, they will tell you too, their heads are turning like a swivel. Because every time you thought you saw the most beautiful woman you thought in the world, there's another one pass by. That's how it is there. And I just wanted to give that for that little tidbit of information, because we're men. I'm just giving you that tidbit. But the Black people are there. They call it Said people. Do your investigation on them and whatnot. So that is the question, brother and sister, for the next time around, is about the reconciliation of this. And we have how you doing, my dear brother? Persecuted racism. Greetings. How you doing, my dear brother? So how do we reconcile this? How do we reconcile what our brothers saw and what our brothers wrote? And why did they put up these monoliths all over the place in Africa? And we know, again, the recap of this, we know that the wicked Tubab colonial forces began to break up these monoliths, and they stole hundreds all over the place in Africa. Why did they do this? If these people are supposed to be so primitive and they had to enslave and colonize us, they said we were stupid and dumb. Just like they say, they tell people around here the same thing about me. They say I can't even read and write. Well, why would they take our monoliths in Africa and destroy many of them and take many of them there, and they're hidden and so forth? Why did they do that if they're supposed to be so primitive? Here is showing you a picture of a ship loading these monoliths in Africa. They stole them. See, so that's an issue, isn't it? So again, brothers and sisters, for the next time, I want us to reconcile. Our brothers and sisters saw something. They began to write what they saw and drew in caves, on papyrus, on different things, and even word of mouth descriptions. They even had names and so forth. We find same names all over Africa. That everybody had these visits. These type of things like this, we want to know, how do we reconcile this? Yeah, see, that's the thing too. If we're so wicked, why the hell are they here? If they're so wicked, why are they here? See, that's one. You know, if we're so wicked and we're so this and that, why do they destroy our suppositories? Why do they prevent us from going into Timbuktu? Why do they take all our monoliths from all over, and the other ones they couldn't take, they destroyed them? Why did they do that? Why did the Roman Church, the Vatican, order the slaughter in 325 AD, 300 years before Islam, the slaughter of the remaining black folk that was there in Kemt? Why did they order that? And to kill all the scholars and scribes and to burn the suppositories. Why is that if they were a stupid, ignorant people? This is what the Tubal always says about black. Oh, just like they say, right? They tell, and I have Moroccans come to me all the time. This guy, white boy, he come and told me that you can't read and write. Yeah. So they have been doing this now for centuries, brothers and sisters. This is something they have been doing. Videos on what? Wait a minute. What did you say? No. So anyway, that's it. And I want to leave you one more time, brothers, with this profound item. It's related. And again, I'm asking you for the next time we have this discussion here, how we reconcile what our brothers, ancient brothers, saw and they wrote about what happened in the interstellar space and what was visited to them here, who came. And it's related to these people here in America, who I believe this man who's long past now, he's Fulani. I believe he's a Fulani American. He looks Fulani big time to me as his wife. It's related. How? She said they were visited and taken. And how did she draw this solar system when no one knew of the solar system until 10 years or more after she gave it? Again, our ancestors had drawn and was well aware of the solar system of Sirius and other solar systems, star systems, without prior knowledge. How do we reconcile that? If you say that they were not visited, how did they get it? And many of these stars you cannot see with the naked eye. You cannot. So how do they know about certain stars without, they can't see it? They didn't have space shuttles and telescopes. So how did they get the information? How did she get this? She said she was on a spaceship. They gave her the information. She came back to relay it. She was not a scientist. She didn't know anything about, nobody even knew about this solar system here, but she drew it. 10 years or more later, they found out that she was telling the truth. Then all of the snickering and lying and talking against her, they shut up. Because now something was, again, happened. And they have to reconcile that. How did she get such information without telescopes and everything? How did our doggone brothers our ancestors got this information? They said in Timbuktu, there's documents of all kinds of stuff that was happening in the space. They have written documentation about many things, but they won't let us see it. And then in the process, because if they had their way, they would probably drop a bomb, one of those big, what do you call it, bunker busters, they call it. I forgot how many tons they drop one of these bombs. If they could drop it to destroy it, they would, because Tubob's been destroying everything that shows scholarship on this thing. When they can't, then they claim that the people were Tubob. But they won't let you and me visit to look at that. Why? Why are they keeping that? How do we reconcile that? They say that's there in those suppositories. They got stuff that will blow us, will rewrite a lot of the stuff that we see today, the NASA and all that. We rewrite this stuff because they have got knowledge and stuff they wrote in the Arabic language on top of that about certain things. And some of it's leaked out. And I will talk, inshallah, about one Fulani mystic, Sufi mystic, what he had to say. And somebody smuggled out his documents. Very interesting. In the 1600s, we had no spaceships. We had no telescopes. We didn't have no NASA shuttle. We didn't have the Hubble going, jettisoning through the solar system, taking pictures. Didn't have that. Where did this ancient Fulani brother get his information from? Where? We need to reconcile this. Thank you, my dear brother. Yes, please subscribe to my station. From those, but I heard now a lot of people are not getting notifications again. We go through the same thing over and over again. They're just stopping us. I guess this is probably a vehicle for terrorism. That's probably what they're trying to say. Where are you quoting this from, my dear brother? And when you come, please greet us. I am the son. I don't know where you get where are you getting this from? I am the son. Where are you getting this from? Are you getting this from Neher? I know this is not right. Where you get? If you're still here, my dear brother Leo, please greet us. Give us your greetings and give us an answer. And I'll wait a couple of minutes for this because I'm curious where you get this from here. If you're still here, please write and give me an answer to this. Because I am the son. Where are you getting this from here? Please give me an answer to this because I'm curious what document you're quoting from here, Mr. Leo. Please write. Give us your answer to this, please. I'm waiting here a couple of minutes for this because I'm curious to see what you got to say about that because this is a very. I don't know where there would be. I don't know where you got this from. I'm curious. Please give me an answer to this. Okay, he's not answering. He just wrote this and he came in. Now he's gone again. I wanted him to clear this up because what he's saying here, we all know this is not right. I don't know where he got this documentation from. If he said he got it from Neher, he's wrong. If he said this is the hymns of Ani or the hymn of Ra and all that, it's wrong. That's not what it says. And Key Camp can also tell you that's not right. It doesn't say that. I don't know if he's getting it from that, but I'm suspecting that's where you're getting it from. We know that's not the case because the hymns of Ra is not that. I'm going to tell you that right now. They didn't say that. And that's a fallacy. There was no sun worship in ancient Egypt. There was none. And it was none of the sun worship. That's something the Europeans put on after they were thrown out of it because there was no longer, we can prove that they weren't the masters of Kemp anymore. We knew that they weren't running and it wasn't them, it was us. And so after that, then they, of course, start to lambast us and say that we were polytheists and so forth. Yeah, I know he's not correct. And that's why I want him to come back on the station and give us his answer. And I'm waiting here. He still didn't come back. I wonder that what is the symbol is on. Oh, I didn't, you know what? I didn't see. Yeah. Okay. That's the iron sick. What is that? I forgot what, that's not Islam. I forgot now what that it is. I got my reservations. I know who this person may be. I don't know him by name, but I'm just thinking, since he wrote this, he put a provocative statement to get us going. That's what he was trying to do, because we have learned people. We have King Cam here, and we know, he knows, and I know also that there's nothing written in the book forthcoming by day and night where you have any of this crap in there talking about they worship the sun. There's none like that. So I don't know where he's getting this information from. It's definitely is out. That's yeah. Oh yes, it's common. Okay, yes. Thank you, my dear brother, because I forgot. Yes, thank you, my dear brother, for that. The reminder. It's Russian. I think this is a guy. He didn't right back. I'm running him. We don't need to have his crap. I had run quite a few people today. They come in with a lot of nonsense, and I want to run that out of here. Some are trying to start fights with others because they want to break up the program. I ran them as well. We all have our own. If we disagree with something, there's nothing wrong with that. You present your play. We we're all for it. We're African people. We're all for that. But to come in with provocateur themes, we don't want that here. And you want to go after somebody because you don't like the way they look or with something they said, you have to be kind and ask them, yeah, what do you mean by what you say? You don't just go after them and start denouncing them because you don't know them. See, so we got to stop that. And I see this here. I run it because I'm not going to put up with that. And just provocateurs like that. You notice I saw the stuff. I gave them a chance to clean up. They refuse. I run them. And that's where we should have it. Well, brothers and sisters, I think this is about it today. It's very late here in Morocco now. I'll be getting up here in a matter of hours because I got to get back for my night prayers and stuff we call Tahajjud. So I hope I presented something for you today, my dear brothers and sisters, that give you a good picture of what's happened. And I want us to reconcile. You heard what I asked. For the next time, you guys do your research and we can discuss this even more and whatnot, and get on those books, hit those books, start doing your research. There's a lot of African scholarship out there, brothers and sisters. Now we have a lot of beautiful African scholars who are breaking down a lot of things that we need. Okay, because the Tubab can't do it because that's not his languages. We have some Tubab who have helped, like in the Khan language and so forth and so on, and they present pretty good pictures. But most did not have the linguistic expertise to do it. But now we have African scholars who are starting to break things down, okay, and everything like that, especially like my name, because I've been wanting to know, because when I saw 2000, why I changed the name to Shabaka is for a reason. Now I understand, because the Shabaka people, we understand, were out coming from, and they are out, the descendants of the Fulani people, because if you look at there's many things that got a Shabaka. He's got the hair and everything is not traditionally known for the people of Kush, which they also call Kasha. Interesting, isn't it? See, so we believe he may have that Fulani influence in there, and now we understand why. Because mommy, my side, mommy was Fulani. See, we know that. See, so we understand that. And we also know that the people, whoever were under Shabaka, left to come into Algeria to form a nation. They became the Amazigh. Very interesting, isn't it? And the Amazigh people became the Moroccans. See, and all the clans of that, that's in our blood, for on my heritage and stuff like that, of what we call the Mozab people. So they became the Lamtuna, the Zenata, they became the Sanhaja and Jadela. There's many different, these ethnic groups all came out of regions out of Africa, out of Kemp first. So we have all of that, brothers and sisters. So I'm going to leave you with that until the next time. And I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe and please hit the books so next time we can discuss this. Okay? Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi barakatuh.